Welcome to the Blackout Show, presented by the Guillen Grid, a show about the Chicago White Sox baseball, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll debate what's working and what's not on the south side of Chicago. It's old school versus new school baseball. And most importantly, we're keeping all the receipts.
Yo, what is up, everybody? With me tonight is Jay and myself. We're going to get after it this show. We got a lot coming at you since we've been off for a good week and a half, Jay, ever since the draft eve of that nice draft class that we put together, which let's start off with that, Jay. I mean, obviously we'll go more into the draft class next week, but just to highlight it, prior to draft night, the White Sox traded away Jacob Gonzalez for a 34th slot selection, a comp A pick, and selected Landon Tomey with that draft selection pick that they picked up there, Jay. That it gave them the ability to really go over slot at 41 by quite a bit as Prozic dropped. Well, he didn't drop. They just held him out to 41 because of the money that he was getting in that overslot pay. But altogether, essentially, that just gave them a $21 million draft class, picking up that comp A pick. Jay, how do you feel about not only the short term of this, but the long term? I want you to take both sides of it, getting away that depth piece, but also in the value of those two picks that came after Chalowski.
I mean, on face value, the fantasy owner in me did not like the trade because you do like the added depth of an infielder, a left-handed hitting infielder that you could plug. Obviously, we seen what he did a couple, in his limited time. He gave us a little bit of slug. He got better defensively at first base, a position that he's been learning. But at the end of the day, Gonzo, the only way Jacob Gonzalez can crack this lineup is being the third or fourth string first baseman in the organization, then, I mean, that says it within itself. I'm glad the White Sox got rid of that clutter. Because let's just say if we did keep Jacob Gonzalez on the roster, right? That means that not only do we have a middle infield log jam, much like the Red Sox outfield situation, but, I mean, he's not even going to play that much, considering the fact that he's not going to play third, short, or second for the Chicago White Sox within the next 3.5 to 5 years. We know that for sure. Number two, at first base, I mean, we're expected to go forward with Mooney. Outside of that, I don't think you hold Jacob Gonzalez on the roster just to be first base security. In regards to Landon Tomey Prozic, I think it's a great opportunity for the White Sox to do what they did with Jaden Faust in last draft. Keep filling in that niche, that left-handed super toolsy, player. Because at the end of the day, we can project both of those players in the lineup from draft day right now. When we picked Jacob Gonzalez, the dust settled and we still didn't know where he fit on the roster. That's initially after the draft. So you got a little bit more a clear path, I want to say, because I don't want to say the decision is concrete, because a lot of time can happen from this conversation to where the kids make the debut. All I'm saying is Prozic and Tomey have a clear path to the major leagues today, as more than Jacob Gonzalez. And this is a guy who already got major league at bats already, and more importantly, major league success. So if you can't put yourself in a position to give Jacob Gonzalez regular 8 Bs at the major league level, then you did right by getting rid of that clutter and filling in and getting those toolsy bats for the future. So I initially, off face value, I didn't like the trade. I was like literally crying on the TL like Kenwo. But I thought about it. It was a good move for the Sox, to be honest with you. It was a win-win for both teams. Because if you look at the Pirates, see, now you got me rambling like an old man. You look at the Pirates roster at first base, they only have what? O'Hearn. So I mean, and Horowitz is on a rehab assignment, so that's basically why they made the move for Jacob Gonzalez. But at the end of the day, none of their outfielders are playing first base. Nick Gonzalez is the utility infielder. There's no way he's playing first base. So you actually had a spot. Unlike the White Sox, the Pirates didn't have a Mooney or Miguel Vargas stopping him from getting regular at bat. So I think it's a win-win for both teams. I like where the Sox are today. With what they came away with in the draft, because they had an outstanding draft, and that's me just having the baseline knowledge of what's taking place here. There's a lot of more people, like we had Rasmussen, we had Scudder out here. We coming up on a situation with the White Sox, Gonzo, to where this is a different front office. There is no like debris or fodder going on with this draft. Everybody was drafted with a purpose. Every move is made with a purpose. So yeah, I mean, to make a long story short, I love it. I like the trade.
Yeah, and I mean, to continue on even on the Pirates side of it, with Connor Griffin going down, that just leaves a spot even on the left side of the infield for Jacob to go to if he wants to play shortstop for the time being while Connor's injured. And again, you can slide him over to the right side when he comes back and play second base and first base with what you were saying. Now, going back to the White Sox side of this, I mean, even when he was drafted, he wasn't a really high profile draft pick. It was kind of like a middling pick, at least from the fan side of it, looking at the selection for Jacob Gonzalez. I think that the pick, Jay, where Eldridge went right after him.
I believe so. You talking about Bryce Eldridge, right?
Yeah, Bryce Eldridge. So I know that was kind of, in hindsight, looking at that pick, that was like, one of those like not the most exciting pick, but to say the least, his journey through the minors, he struggled quite a bit, and it's kind of similar to Colson's journey, if you really think about it, because both of them had to make an adjustment to get them to get promoted to the majors, and obviously Colson's progression in the majors when he got there was significantly more lopsided if you're comparing Jacob, but at the same time, both of them are had showed a good flash when they first made their debuts. And however, in saying that, Justin, I don't think Jacob Gonzalez.
My name is Jay.
Yeah, when Jacob got that debut and really made his showed his good selection of at bats in the majors, it wasn't really anything to thread the needle on. And going forward, I think this really, when I look at it, Jay, I would be interested in even trying to get a corner outfielder at the deadline and moving Antonacci back to second base. Because I just think, if you're going to platoon someone with Chase Maedroth, that doesn't thread the needle either for me if you're trying to make a run in the postseason. And we can get to that later, but that's kind of my thought as far as the now goes and why you would make that deal, moving Jacob. And like you're saying, Jay, you're moving clutter or a bloated infield.
Mm-hmm.
And not only are you moving a piece in that infield that's depth, that's kind of bloated at the moment, but you're moving it for quite the value in that deal for the 34th selection. And that's not that should be overlooked. Like, there's a lot of value going into that range in the comp picks. over the last 3 years. So it's just at this point for the White Sox, it's making that best player available pick for them at that slot and making the money count, with developing that pick. And not only did you get a high, and I don't want to like go into this little nepocy of Landon Tomey. Landon Tomey is projected to go in that 25th to 40 range. Like that was a reasonable slot to take him at. But not only, and again, it's a warranted pick with his talent in that range. But like I mentioned earlier, getting Prosek, which Prosek was in that range as well, going that 20 to, I've seen him 20 to 30 range. And, we got him in the comp picks, part of it. So those are for the long term, two really great profiles that I think will fit there at second base. And I mean, these could be high end talents with their development to go because, again, Jacob Gonzalez wasn't a high school prep selection like Landon or Tomey and Prosek. So,
yeah,
there's a lot of upside there, Jay. And for the long run, I love it. We're going to see how it all folds out from here because Bonner can be in that mix as well. So right before
let me ask you something real quick.
Yep.
And people are probably going to look at me sideways.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather draft Grady Emerson number 1 or Cole Prosek at 41?
Say that again.
Would you rather have Grady Emerson at number 1 overall, or would you have Cole Prosek at 34?
A lot of people are going to hate you for saying that, but I see where you're coming from because
yes,
obviously I would take Grady. However, Prosek could be the second best high school prep profile right behind him in that class. I think Bo Lawrence that the Dodgers took right at, or where did he go? I think he went 37th-ish or 38th, right? Dodgers took him on the back half of the comp picks, but they gave him the most money for the slot value there, and that slot of, comp picks there. But it's toe and toe there, and regardless, I like that question because like it kind of mirrors what I'm trying to get to with saying that, Prosek's such a highly touted profile as high school prep bat that there's a lot of upside there. I'm not gonna kill you for asking that question because again, I think you value.
I'm getting slow roasted on the internet right now. I can feel it in my bones.
You value that slot selection at 41. And I don't blame you for asking that question because, again, I think Prosek gets undervalued just because of, Emerson being in this class and being the top bat in that
the reason
prep.
The reason I asked the question is because you go Grady Emerson number 1 overall, then it's Grady plus what rest of the draft, right? You won't be able to take these big swings. You won't be able to project and layer the farm system anymore. After picking Grady, you're going to have to get some more mature bats that's going to be a little bit thinner on the development side, especially us, a team that doesn't develop. We don't develop OPS. We don't. So in regards to getting Roch, Prosek, and Landon, we're going to start the process of moving Landon away from shortstop. He's not going to be a shortstop for the Chicago White Sox. You understand that? We're not going to wait as long as we did with Jacob Gonzalez to start making that transition. That's going to be an immediate transition, Gonzo. It's going to accelerate fast. Don't be surprised if by the time he hits AA, he's playing a corner, third, more second base reps, even a left field rep like we seen with Antonacci, even though I'm at the point right now to where I agree with you, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later about moving Antonacci back to second, because now you can get back into roster construction, and people were complaining about Venable's lineup. We're going to get to that too. You add another right-handed, good barrel, back to ball, a walk guy, a guy that can move the line on the right-hand side, preferably a corner outfield. that makes this lineup a little bit more deeper. And we're right there. We have the resources to do that, and we don't have to blow the bank. But that starts with recognizing where you want to go forward with these players. Where do you want to go forward with Landon Tomey? Where do you want to go with Cole Prosek? Where do you want to go with Roch Chalowski? Are you going to wait until you fully understand and you're set in them not playing shortstop or them moving to another? Or are you going to start that process earlier than we did in the past? I hope we start that process earlier than we did in the past.
I agree with you for that's last sentiment that you're asking. And I think as far as, development goes, we'll save that for probably later this month when we start going into our minors again. But I like where your head's at, because again, Bonnemer is probably going to, if we do get a season next year.
I didn't even mention him.
Yeah. If we do get a season next year, Bonnemer should be making his debut. And it's going to be interesting because he's been being developed at third base as of the second half of last year. So, obviously Vargas, that's tough because while that bat is still playing, you don't move him. But if there's any regression there could be a battle at third base between Bonnemer and Vargas.
Yes.
And if, at the end of the day, if that bat's still talking, then okay, Bonnemer goes to probably second base. And then for the long-term vision of this roster construction, it's going to be a breed of competition at second base between Bonnemer, Prosek, Tomey, Antonacci. So that's all good problems for Will at the end of the day. And especially with how first base goes in DH. So, Jay, are you ready for a little softball talk?
Okay, give it to me.
So before the All-Star break, I want to actually pull this up because I forgot what the final line looked like in the schedule. However, Noah Schultz had a very nice start versus the A's at home. He went, what was it again? He went 5 innings, only gave up 1 run, 4 strikeouts, and 4 hits. Got the W. And his pitch count was only at 74 pitches, Jay. And
Yeah.
they didn't send him out in the 6th, which that one, I was kind of bummed out. I'm not sure if they were just trying to take it easy on the arm going into the first half, because this is, the first half of baseball of starts that he's played in the MLB. I don't know what Will's thinking was. I don't want to talk it into make speculation of what it could have been. We'll save that for a little bit, Jay.
Yeah.
But hell of a way to end the first half of the season for Noah Schultz. And before that start, Jay, he was getting so much heat on Twitter. And during that Sunday, all the haters were quiet.
Yep.
And honestly, that start, I mean, he was just buzzing that fastball inside, like he's done so quite well all, for the majority of this season.
Yeah.
He, for some reason, Jay, he's not throwing that slider too much. I'm not sure if he has a feel for it. Maybe he's worried because he's hung a couple sliders in the zone when he's ahead of counts that he's just not confident in that pitch at the moment. So he's going cutter changeup, it seems. And in that start, he was kind of in and out of the changeup, and he was throwing mostly that cutter away and backdoor cutter and throwing the sinkers down away as well. So it was effective in that start. However, coming out of the break here in the second half, he had a start down in Arlington. And I'm not going to make excuses, Jay. I'm just saying how it is. Arlington is a very difficult place to pitch, especially if that's your first start there. So I wasn't expecting him to have a great of a start. That was just one of those where I'd be surprised if, I look silly and he goes out there and throws like a, 7-inning shutout or whatever.
Mhm.
But obviously that was not the case. I'm trying to look back at that start here.
I knew what the problem was, and I'm a little bit concerned.
Hold on. Actually, where's your concerns at? Are you saying in general or just in that start?
Just in that start. I mean,
Mhm.
there were people talking about send him down. He has to work on stuff. No, no, no. This is the first start of his out of the last 3 that he's had. This is the second start in a row where he didn't walk a batter. Now, if you pay attention to the Rangers game, he didn't put anybody away. And a guy with Noah Schultz stuff, you need to generate more swing and misses. You threw 80 pitches, you gave up 11 hits. That's
Yeah.
alarming. That's a short 3 2/3. That's a short amount of time to give up 11 hits, right? That's
I
literally
thought I saw like
that
somewhere
kills
like
your whip.
5 of those hits were like bloopers,
Exactly. You're not finishing.
So,
The
yep.
instead of striking these guys out or breaking their bats, you're missing enough over the heart of the plate to where they can stop you from eliminating the at bat. Because let's just think, Gonzo, if he's wiping these guys out, would you rather? I would rather take 2 or 3 walks that start and get away from giving up 6 more hits, striking out 7 instead of striking out 4. That could have did wonders in holding momentum and getting you back into a situation. And you still would have been around 80 pitches, to be honest with you, because they were putting the ball in play. Most of the counts that Noah was in giving up these hits, Gonzo, were 2-2 full counts. It wasn't like he wasn't throwing strikes. His pitches didn't have any hair. He was being too cautious. He didn't want to overthrow. He didn't want to walk anybody. That's where he's at right now. He's trying to keep the game in front of him, and he got burned by bloopers. Guys that he was supposed to strike out, break their bat, it wasn't happening, and we seen 11 hits, 5 earned, 3 2/3.
My counter though is if Bovee and Bannister are telling him we got to work on your walks, and that's what he's focused on in these starts, then that's where that's where I would disagree. Because if that's where you're working on it and you're going 2 straight starts without walking anyone, then we're making progression
Yeah,
with
but
better, with when I say, being better, we're better with our, executing in those counts, obviously, when you're ahead, that's when you going on your side of it. We got to finish. I'm not disagreeing with that side of it. I'm just saying if we're
no, he
working,
hasn't walked the guy in 2 starts. That's
mhm,
progress. But the
yeah,
thing is, his whip is still fucking out of control because you're not walking anybody, but you're generating more contact. You're getting burned by contact more. So now you've already reached a level to where, okay, he's taking ball 4 out of the equation. Now we got to go to another step in the development, executing pitches 100% of the time. Because you see, even when you feel like you're fucking pumping the zone with strikes, Gonzo, he was a strike throwing machine. He was in the zone
mhm,
enough. You see what happens to a guy, even as talented as Noah Schultz, when he's in the zone too much.
you're right. But part of that is also like if you're making if contact's made and it's weak contact, I just tip my hat,
Yeah, I
just
mean, you gotta
like
you gotta
you,
live with that.
you just, you're not going to win. There's going to be starts like this where anything's going to get by.
Let's talk about another
Um,
lefty in Texas, Mackenzie Gore, another guy
mhm.
who just his whip is just out of control. The difference between Mackenzie Gore and Noah Schultz, I've seen Mackenzie Gore strike out 10 plus with his stuff. Wins that big dominant 10K game. And Mackenzie, I mean, we've been trying to get him to lower his walks for 2.5 years. It's just he's just not that guy. He's
Yeah.
gonna walk people, but he's also gonna strike out a shit ton.
To be honest, like when you're talking about Noah stuff, like people are saying they're not impressed by it, which, if his go-to off-speed pitch was the slider, getting drafted and especially when he first started in A ball, and he's getting away from that and he has to work on something else. And it doesn't look like Bannister's working on a sweeper or anything of that nature. It's when it comes to Bannister, he loves developing his staff with the changeup, right? So this is
Well, he was a
Noah's.
changeup guy when he pitched, so he
Yeah,
knows full on like the benefit of that.
there's some bias to that, right? If
Mhm.
that's your cup and butter, and that's what you're trying to get as an overall organization to do, is this is actually puts his head, if anything, on the chopping block, right? Because you're the man that's trying to develop this pitching staff at the big leagues. And if you're going to do that off the changeup, God bless you. Because in this modern era, maybe the changeup was in his era, but it isn't anymore. All right. In this era, that sweeper action, that's what's taking over the game right now.
But I mean, Gonzo,
The great organizations, they're
yeah, no,
effective with it.
I'm not gonna disagree, but look at Shohei Ohtani, uh, Yamamoto, even some degree to Paul Skeens. That splitter changeup action, that arm side run, that's what separates good pitchers from great pitchers, because it's easy to command that frisbee when you know when you're gonna get it glove side running. You know when you could grab a strike with it or not. It's harder to command and control arm side run, no matter what handedness you are. And right now, all of Noah Schultz's breaking stuff, he's not ahead in accounts enough to where he could finish a guy outside of the zone. That's just not going to happen right now at this point in the development, right? But a changeup, number one, is easier on the arm, it's safer on the arm. Number two, it gets guys into you have to tunnel, number one. And number two, your sequencing got to be tight, because it's hard to get a called strike on a splitter or with a changeup.
Yeah.
It's easier to induce weak contact running inside to a hitter or away from a hitter, depending on what they're doing and what they're swinging at. But to get throw a changeup for a strike at Noah Schultz's age, like a called strike, like, what do you think? There's a big gap in success between him and Parker Messick. Remember when Prelip for the Twins, he was on that little run a little bit, called strike changeups.
My point, what I was getting at, is this development is relying on relatively new pitches to him, because it's not like these cutter changeup was in his repertoire as heavy as it was prior to the majors,
Yeah.
So again, you have to adapt really quickly with this repertoire. If especially when he's not when he's getting away from that slider that got him to this point as that second, or that off speed pitch that off of the fastball.
Yeah.
So a lot of learning, a lot of adapting. Plus, you add the knee situation into this. It's just one of those things with Noah. Like, at the end of the day, you just have to have understanding of what he's battling through, going into this debut season.
And his development won't be as linear as other people's, because he got a lot of stuff, like little obstacles in his way. He has more missions to accomplish than any other pitcher coming up in his situation at age 22 years old. I'm working myself back from not only getting healthy, but learning pitches, being a big leaguer. Like, that takes time, because there's a lot of hiccups within that, the infancy of his development already.
Yeah.
Like, it hasn't been smooth sailing rainbows. It's been turbulent.
And I mentioned this plenty on Twitter the past week. Dylan Cease's debut season was just as turbulent. He had 63 innings, 5.79 ERA, I think a 1.4 WHIP, if could be mistaken. But people want to say, oh, he's showing flashes of a slider. It's like, great. That's what he had throughout the minors too. That's exactly what he was showing, Dylan Cease, in the minors. He was showing velocity in his fastball and a slider that he couldn't control. That he didn't dominate with that slider until 2022.
Let me ask you a question.
He got control of it, better control of it in 21, but it took him from 19 to 21, 3 years of playing around. And he's lucky with that velocity as a righty that he can, just play around with that slider and get outs with it and strike people out. But like you're saying, it takes time, and especially for pitching. So go ahead and ask that question, Jay.
Do you think Noah Schultz is comfortable throwing his best back foot slider in aggressive counts right now?
No, because when was that? Early June. He was going to it ahead of the count, and he hung it a little too high. He hung it right above the knee and it ended in the bullpen when he was ahead. So again, but like you're saying, Jay, you got that when you're ahead and that pitch is coming, they know it's coming. You got to execute. You got to execute it.
Yeah, because I mean, after seeing it for a while, a hitter's going to pick up spin. But you got to, as a hitter, you got to make a split-second decision on spot. Like if you got a pitcher that's spinning it great, but he's missing his spots, that gives you confidence as a hitter. Because now I can just look in the area. If I get it, if I'm looking forward to getting it, wham. Look, I don't even think the Rangers knew what was going. They didn't know what was coming out of Noah's hand, but they were in a battle mode to the point to where you got guys choking up a little bit. You got bleeders all through the infield, bloopers to the point to where it's looking like 11 hits. I understand the Rangers are a decent offensive team, not one of the best. They're mid, but for them to put 11 hits on my boy in that span, like, come on, bro. You got to tip your cap to the Rangers, but no, you have to finish them. There's certain situations to where contact may not be an option. Contact may not be an option.
Now let's go to the other side of this for a couple more minutes before we go elsewhere. Do you feel we should treat this the same way, which I know you alluded to it earlier saying no, but I want you to elaborate on it. But would you go to your situation with Shane Smith, sending him down, allow him to gather himself, or do you want to treat this as a big boy situation and he needs to adapt in the big leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I can keep Noah Schultz in the rotation because at the end of the day, I mean, look at everybody else in the rotation. If Noah Schultz is the only guy I got to groom and wean through the season, I'm perfectly fine with that. That's cool. I mean, you got Shane Smith in the minors right now. So if let's just say you make a move with Anthony Kay or Fetty, you just bring Shane Smith up to get those get those innings. But you don't need to send Noah Schultz down through this. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on this. You're high, so he has such a high profile that in the game of failure, I want him to be challenged at the MLB. I want him to adapt to the MLB. If he's going to have success in the league, he's going to have success off of adapting in the MLB. For me, there's no use to sending him down to AAA and let him get beat up in a boombox down there. Like that doesn't change the fact of anything that he's facing right now. It's a hitter's friendly ballpark in Charlotte. He's going to have to continue to adapt, whether it's in Charlotte or the MLB, but I want it to be in the best level possible to make those adaptations. Because there's no guarantee that he goes down there and bounces back up, from confidence levels, or have you not. So at least in this system with how Charlotte's set up, because when it comes to pitching, I think if you're good in AA, you should get your ticket to the MLB from there. So yeah, when it comes to, and I want to take this a step further, Jay. I actually want, let's just say the Sox make it to October. I want to see Noah make a start in the postseason. I want him to get that taste of what October baseball is like at the MLB level, especially if we're going to be contending in the next couple of years. I want him to get that rustiness out of the way now, because that's the mistake that we had in the last era was, and I brought up Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease didn't get his start in 2020 versus the A's. I was on the other platform loudly calling for it. And I think we went with Dane Dunning, not Cease. Or what was it? Dane? Yeah, I think it was Dane because it was Crochet. Was it Crochet or that came later? I think Crochet was in the bullpen. No, he was in the bullpen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like, and look how that affected Dylan Cease's career. You didn't give him that start in 2020. So guess what? His first postseason taste was in 2021, right?
Against the Stros.
Against the Stros. You hired LaRussa to come in, take the reins. He got his dogs going, pitching staff looking hot. And then October hits and looked what happened, Dylan
I just feel like
Cease's,
with the Dylan Cease start against the Astros, I think the adrenaline wore off. Like you've seen it coming because he was, even though the stuff looked good, he was still hemorrhaging base runners and stuff like that. So
yeah. And I mean, who knows? Like, it's hindsight what could have not happened, but I think it does play. I think it shows its evidence, because not only did he look rough, the adrenaline wear off, but it costed him that start, and it didn't seem like it was fruitful for him in the next postseason because, I think he had it with the Padres and that next playoff start. I think it was the Dodgers, right? So, it was kind of like the same thing, even with in the Padres uniform versus the Dodgers. I think he went one time through the lineup, looked well, and then the second time through, I think Ohtani and them got on him. So I think it'd be more fruitful for the Sox for Noah, come October to be in that rotation.
yeah.
And that's going to be interesting. And we're going to get to roster construction here shortly. But you have any or any other concepts you want to introduce to this topic with Noah, Jay?
No, actually, I don't want to send him to the minor leagues. That's it. Put 2 buns on that sandwich.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, we talked about Will pulling Mr. Schultz at 70-something pitches in that athletic start. There's a lot coming when we talk about a team that has a 40-something run diff right now, plus, and a lot of decisions being made of the manager's role, Jay. This is going to be a segment, and the next, we got 6 weeks or something like that left, or we got about 2 months left of baseball, and we have a lot of managerial decisions coming our way, and we'll see if we can have this man of ours get to the postseason with this roster. Jay, what do we like to call this?
Will's way, baby.
The most important thing is to just set really clear expectations for our group and how we're going to go about our day and the things that we're going to do to build a foundation to be the kind of team we want to be. But it's also about cultivating a winning culture and being passionate about coming to work every day and creating a positive environment where people know that we're going to face some tough times like everyone does across the league, but at the end of the day, we're going to do all the things that we need to do to go out there and compete and play hard, holding each other accountable to things that you've set expectations for. But get ready, because we're going to go out there and play good baseball. It's going to be exciting. We hope to see you out in the field.
Folks, this is Will's Way. We haven't, it's been a minute since we talked about managerial decisions, Jay. But I thought I saw something like, I think the White Sox were like 35 and something a year ago going into the All-Star break. And now they were like at 53 maybe this year.
Yeah.
And I think it was like an 18-game turnaround in the record. And that's not by coincidence. You've got a man that has completely changed this culture here and is playing the game how it should be played. Jay, there's not a lot, you got some bats that has been unexpected, like Murakami, Vargas, really taken off. But You can mix in Colson's inconsistencies in there as well. But there's been power in that bat. But you got to win a lot of games when you're having this kind of sporadic offensive, numbers that this offense has been putting up at times. You got to win in different ways. And it seems like, the cesspool has been going crazy on our manager. I've seen several articles written about Will and the way that he runs a ball club. I want to throw 4 things at you, and I'm going to bounce off of you, Jay. I want you to hear your reactions on these 4 concepts, and I'll bounce off of you. I'll be right back, but Jay, there's 4 things I want you to touch on while I'm going to take care of some business real quick. 1, the ABS challenge system and how well we work with it. 2, bunting. Balloons are going off for you, Jay. 3, pinch hitting. And then 4, talk about the opener strategy. Jay, take it away.
So first of all, the ABS, I really don't care for it too much, because a lot of the challenges from the White Sox, we're losing them, especially around the strike zone from the catcher's point of view. So I mean, it hasn't really been helping us, lengthen at bats or steal strikes for our pitchers. But I don't really have a gripe with it. In regards to bunting, I love the fact that the White Sox bunt, because most of our players are OPS merchants. And what I mean by that is they depend on slug to make their money. And a lot of the downside of having prolific sluggers is contact won't always be there. So you're going to have to figure out how to keep base runners on the move, even when a situation to where you're not generating quality of contact from your thumpers. I love the fact that Will puts these guys in position to have to do a baseball job. That's how you build a baseball factory. Getting sacrifice bunts down, shooting the ball, if you're a right-handed hitter, shooting the ball to the right side with less than early in the sequence with 1 out or less. That stuff has to happen, and bunting gets wrapped up into that. And I'm very pleased with what the White Sox have been doing in regards to keeping that a part of the offense, because you can't really rely on balls in the gap, pause, or hitting them over the wall. Look at Colson Montgomery right now in a nasty slump. Like, that's one of the guys that we project to slug and hit home runs. Mooney, he's had a power outage since coming off the IL. So there's a lot of areas that we're lacking right now, in which we hung our hat and used it as a calling card the first half of the season. So you still got to generate those runs one way or another. Bunting helps that. I'm getting old. I forgot the last 2 of what he wanted me to talk about. Oh, pinch hitting and the opener strategy. Let's start with pinch hitting first. I love the fact that Will pinch hits. That's why I also don't have a gripe about the lineup construction, because you are looking at a manager who may use 9 to 14 guys. Everybody on the roster plays with Will. You rarely see him utilizing both catchers, because we've been a little bit thin in that position. It's been a carousel with Teal's injuries and Cuero's inefficiencies, or offensive deficiencies, I should say. But you're going to have to get those guys at bats, and pinch hitting guys like Randall Grichuk. We seen Jacob Gonzalez, God rest his Southside soul. He was pinch hitting too for us. And at the end of the day, you got to use the roster. You don't want guys getting, I don't want to say cold, but they're getting complacent over the course of the season, because you're not injecting them with surprise at bats. Like, if you look at the lay of the land, Gonzo, how many of these opposing bullpens, have specialty lefties that they bring in? Like, some of the best hold guys in the sport are left-handed relievers, right? You don't really see left-handed closers, but that 7th, 8th inning, The guys are coming out. Adrian Morejon, even the Rockies got Brian Bernardino, who has sub-3 ERA out of his role. Like, you're gonna have to bring right-handed pop off the bench to kind of nullify that. Like, getting Randall Grichuk in the game is a good weapon to have when you got to put some baseball plays on later. How many times have we seen Will put the bunt sign on, somebody moves over, pinch hit for Grichuk, and now Grichuk's hit the ball to the wall or over it in a pinch situation. Saved us in the ninth inning a couple times too. The opener strategy, I don't like it personally because our bullpen is thin, and will sometimes open the game up with guys that we're going to need in high leverage later on in the game. So I'm kind of against the opener strategy, but at least we're having people. We've had guys cover these innings safely. But at the end of the day, I feel like I'm a baseball traditionalist. I don't really like that, especially with the thin bullpen that we have. But outside of that, I don't really have any problems. I might be a homer, but it is what it is. To wrap this up with a bow, Gonzo, I feel like the ABS challenges, they irritate me sometimes. The bunting has to be a mainstay. The pinch hitting has to be a mainstay, and the opener part we can do without. Even though I understand we need to cover these. What did we say? An opener covers what, 2 innings a week? So I mean, we can ask starters to go inning and a half more cumulatively if we're only gonna just use them for 2 innings a week.
So, yeah, you said a lot of great stuff there. I was listening to you as I was taking care of some things, but and Jay, I'm impressed with your memory, man. You went all 4. I know you halfway in, you were struggling for a second, but you picked
Bro, you
yourself.
seen that? I was like,
I heard it. I heard it. You're blaming your memory. You're 32 or what was it, 33 years?
Yeah, well, let's just go with that.
Something in there. I forget how many years you got on me. Yeah, ABS challenges. Listen, they're near the bottom of the league. Part of that is you got a tandem of rookie catchers, guys that don't have a lot of experience behind the dish, as far as seeing major league stuff, that they have to see around the plate. And again, their focus is on receiving it, not where it's crossing the plate. So there's about, I don't know, let's just call it 3 feet of space that as an umpire, you're focused on the front of that plate, or as catching it, you're just receiving the pitch, right? So a lot of your veteran catchers, they have a lot better of calculating where that ball is crossing the plate, and let's just call it for what it is. They've received a lot of innings, so they have a better idea of each umpire at the major league level, their strike zone. A lot of experience with these major league umpires. Our rookie tandems, they don't have much experience with these crews and what their zones are. So again, it's just adapting, and in saying so, it doesn't surprise me that our rookie catchers are terrible with challenges, because they don't have enough experience at the major league level, for me to think that they would actually, I should say, it doesn't surprise me that it doesn't favor them. Again, it's just that lack of experience. So
Luis Angel Acuna just struck out without seeing a strike from Josh Hader. There's 2 outs in the 9th. It's 4-1. Colson got us on the board with an RBI single. Brayton's up. I'm sick to my stomach, Gonzo.
So, all right. Well, we're Will's way. Is Acuna our best righty coming off the bench?
No, but he pinch hit for Benintendi. I think Grichuk already pinch hit for Antonacci.
Yeah. So it didn't seem like that was great calculated moves. Where was that replacement? Was that bottom of the lineup, or where exactly?
Yeah, because Grichuk replaced Antonacci. batting leadoff, but Acuna replaced Benintendi, I think at 6 or something like that. But either way, I feel like you can't really sub Antonacci in that spot because, I mean, even though he's a left-handed hitter, he's better than bringing Acuna. You're going to have to bring Acuna off the bench again.
I mean, if you're going to bring Acuna off the bench, at least put the bunt down. Like,
it's already 1 out.
I mean, I could care less, bro. Like, get the runner to second. Get the runner to second, and maybe that speed, he beats it out.
Can you honestly ask Acuna to bunt on command?
I mean, I'd rather see him bunt than strike out on balls.
Okay, you give him the bunt sign. Do you trust him to get the bunt down against a tough lefty like Hader?
I mean, I want to see that effort. Like, I mean, he didn't have. Did he show you effort swinging at 3 balls?
He swung at 4 balls.
Sorry,
well, 3
balls?
Yeah, 3 balls. He took one. Hader spiked one like 58 feet. That's the only pitch he took. Is that
your way of saying that there's no effort? You could have just said yes.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not gonna let you. You're not gonna do this to my favorite team. This is Will's way. Like,
all right.
One of my favorite segments of the show, and you're gonna crucify him.
I got done with
a guy that got a 438 OPS off the bench.
I got done with ABS challenges, and bunting was second on that list. So, yeah, it doesn't shock me that he's calling for some bunts that Jay need to be executed. Jay, they need to be executed.
I know. I can't trust everybody on the team.
And if he can't execute a bunt,
that's game.
He should be off the roster. Because I can find other guys that can actually make contact.
How many guys can you find in the major leagues that have a 436 OPS?
Like all of the major leagues.
So you could basically find anybody to do Luis Angel Acuna's job.
Yes, Jay. We can definitely
better.
do so. And that's why there's a trade deadline coming up, Jay.
What's his value?
No, I'm just saying it'll be gone. It'll be cut because you're replacing that value. Yes, Jay. We can find it, Jay. So moving on to
all right, go ahead. Because we got roster construction later anyway. Okay.
Yeah. Pinch hitting. I actually like the way you answered it. Touche. I'm not going to add any more to that. The opener strategy. The only thing I wanted to add to your conversation of it was it doesn't prep those guys that aren't opening these games. Like, how are you prepping these guys for the postseason?
Right, to start a major league. Like we both know, being a starting pitcher, routine is on the top of your priority list. Routine. You can't get into a routine with an opener for 60% of your starts, 70% of your starts. We're talking about, look at how many times the opener was used for Sean Burke.
Yeah. And we both know that the postseason is heavily reliant on the bullpen to get outs. So why are you going to ask that bullpen to get extra outs?
Right.
That's not a winning recipe, especially in the modern era. It's not a winning recipe because you're already asking for these pitchers nowadays just to go 5, please, so we can 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. We're going to ask our bullpen to get 12 outs, right? Back in the day, they can go 6 easy, 7 if you're dominant, right? So you're only asking your bullpen to get 6 outs back in those days. 8th, 9th.
Can I fill you in on something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, 1 walk, 10 Ks.
Oh, Burke, yeah.
We lost that start, Gonzo, because of defense and lack of execution on offense.
You said 2 earned, right? 2
earned, yep. Because the other
error
guy scored on Brayton's error.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 3 runs in the inning, but yeah, 2 earned. And that's what's unfortunate because again, you're solid arms, and I think Davis Martin felt a little bit of that yesterday. just lack of offense.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this is not a great way to start the second half of the season. Obviously, they're 7, and their last 10, they're 7-3. And we can talk about this later. Our expectations in the second half when we look at the schedule, but this is not the way they're playing right now. It's not a recipe for success going down the stretch. They need to figure out something, and thankfully we were 8 days out of the trade deadline where you can kind of mix this lineup up a little bit. But Jay, I think that's a great way to end Will's way with ending this discussion about the opener strategy. And again, guys, for our audio listeners, I think it was actually James Fagan that put together a couple of articles talking about Will and his strategies with the staff. But ABS challenges, bunting, pinch hitting, and the opener strategy, those were a couple of concepts that he brought up. And we opened up to our acumen of those concepts. And all around, Jay, Will Venable, he could be the coach of the year this year. We'll have to wait and see, because he had a hell of a first half, but this game is 2 halves. And Jay, to say the least, I love the manager that we have. Obviously, there's going to be some, if the players we're talking about making adjustments with Schultz, Venable's making adjustments as well with his staff. And there's not, the depth, it's all right. But as far as the talent on this roster, Will's had to make a lot of adjustments for this ball club to be at where they're at. And I'm impressed. I think we got the right guy. Do you have any last opinions on Will before we wrap it up?
No, I feel like he's building this team into a bunch of professional ball players. And I always go back to his playing time, to where Will has had to wear many different hats as a major leaguer. He was a fourth outfielder for the most part, but there have been some years to where he's had to play a whole season to fill in for injuries. And to keep himself productive over that time, he's had the managers asked him to do a lot of things: slug, get a bunt down, steal a bag. Like, situational baseball is what made Will Venable a professional. And now we've seen that DNA trickle down to the roster that he manages today. So, I mean, even Luis Angel Acuna has shown us spots, bits and pieces during the season. And I think that's why he's still on the team, that he can execute baseball plays. Unfortunately, he swung at no strikes today and struck out. But outside of that, I'm very comfortable and confident in the direction that Will Venable is taking this team.
I love it, bro. So that is Will's way. We are now on to, with 8 days more, Jay, we're going to talk some roster construction.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go to some trade targets in this discussion, I want to hear, and I think we heard a little bit, a month ago, of where your mind was going when we first talked about it, but that was a month ago, bro. And now we are, like I said, 8 days out. So I want to see what's your focus right now, Jay? What are the holes that you like to see be addressed by Monday night next week?
Well, I mean, honestly, we need more innings. We need more mature innings and a starting pitcher role, number one. Number two, you got to find out where you're going to get right-handed OPS at a corner outfield spot. And I'm not going to lie, with Miguel Vargas being the number one guy at third base for this team, we're going to need to find a right-handed first to third baseman that we could bring off the bench. I feel like this would be a situation to where, like a guy like Matt Reynolds. You remember Matt Reynolds hit a bunch of home runs for the Diamondbacks?
Mm.
A guy that you don't really need to start, but you can bring him off the bench to be the right-handed platoon. Let's just say Mooney needs a spell, or you want him to DH a certain day. That can be addressed right-handed OPS at a corner position, infield and outfield, to be honest with you, because you can't survive with Miguel Vargas being the end-all be-all in regards to the right-handed batter's box. You gotta support him, because at the end of the day, I mean, thank God he's better than Mark Vientos, because we seen what the Mets did. They had to go out and get Soto because they didn't have any right-handed. Who's the best right-handed hitter on the Mets roster right now, in your opinion?
I mean, how often do they play? What's his name? Pat or Batty?
Yeah, Brett Beatty. He just had to play right field yesterday. Literally, a guy that you bringing
Yeah.
off the bench to play any infield spot is starting for you in right field. And no, he's not right-handed. Like, you're at a point to where we could be very much like the Mets, to where Bo Bichette with a 678 OPS is the best right-handed option we have. No, no. And Miguel Vargas has what, a 840, 850 OPS. So we're in a very different
Mhm.
conversation, but you don't want Miguel Vargas being the end all be all with that niche player.
My apologies. I did say Beatty, thinking I brought the
Vientos.
lefty. I brought the lefty up, thinking about the righty situation. Um, I got some names for that need for left field. I'm sure you'll give me some depth pieces, but so you're saying one starter. Were you saying more so depth than a starter in left
Yeah,
field?
yeah, that
Okay.
because you got to remember, we're still giving at bats to Mydroff at second. Once that ship sails, Antonacci moves to second, then you could worry about an everyday left fielder if that's the route you want to go. Not including
Okay.
Benintendi, because obviously he's been relegated to DHing. And I mean, all you have is Grichuk for now,
Mm.
and unfortunately, Luis Angel Acuna. Braden's not moving to left field. He's just going to be the right fielder. And then
So
too, not to cut you off, but we need a center fielder, a right-handed hitting center fielder too, that we can bring off the bench. And at least with this this roster as it stands, you don't really need any starting caliber of offensive players to where you start blocking some of these guys, because they're getting tryouts at different areas of the diamond. And the last thing you need is to bring in a 30-something-year-old guy that could clutter that up and change that path of development, even if it's a rental. You don't want anybody to derail any development, even in a year like this where you've exceeded every expectation. The plan still has to be the same.
yeah, all right. Before I deep dive here, Jay, you didn't even touch on the bullpen or catcher.
No, because if I bring in another, I don't necessarily have to. We're talking about guys that we would have to go out and actually pursue, or I like the word poach, because we're going to have to poach right now. If I bring in another bullpen arm, high leverage, that removes Grant Taylor from that role, and that's going to accelerate his development for no reason. Because if the organization isn't comfortable stretching him out at this point, why move him down in the pecking order with the bullpen when you could just keep him in the microwave and use him 2 or 3 times a week?
I'm actually hoping that they just give him the closer spot here in the
Me
second
too.
half. That way, if they do, I think you can fill the bullpen in with the system, but I wouldn't be opposed to getting another setup guy, depending on who it is and the value.
Yeah,
You know,
but I mean, how much would we have to give up to get a guy in the 6th, 7th role? We're not even talking about high leverage. We're just talking about another right-handed bullpen arm to
Mhm.
keep us from overusing Grant Taylor.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, bro, but I with the way Gabe Davis is looking, I wouldn't even
Nasty.
mind. I wouldn't mind seeing him up
Power.
at the back end of the year, bro. I got to see where exactly his innings is, if he's where he's at in the system. I can't remember. Is he double A right now? I'm gonna have to look and
I
see.
think he's double A. Hold on, give me 1 second.
I gotta go look at how many innings he has, because I can't remember if it's high A or double A and how many innings he's pitched there so far in the season. But just because I don't want to, as much as I'd love to see him, I don't want to.
Yeah, he in double A right now.
I mean,
55 innings this year.
This is his first time in double A, right? Because he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
He started off in high A, was it?
Yeah.
Last year.
He has a no, they don't give me anything for last year. He was in Winston-Salem this year.
Yeah, I couldn't remember because he was drafted last year, so I didn't know if they had him throw a little bit down there. That is a quick turnaround for an arm, but he was, he's a college guy, so
the only thing is he has a problem with inflating his pitch count per outing. But you don't want, but a guy like that in the bullpen, you'll just start shitting away games, and inherited runners or start running all over the place. Now in that Gabe Davis role that you talking about giving him his cup of coffee, what about Tanner McDougal? And like that, you remember how Toronto was doing Nate Pearson, big Nate Pearson?
So since we're kind of getting there, there's 3 guys I want to see in the bullpen for sure by September. Davis is the last one of those 3, just because, again, even though it's a light innings load, he was a college profile that they drafted last year, so his progression can be expedited a little bit. McDougal is the second guy. I was hoping that they would stretch him out as a starter, but with the injury that kind of derailed that going into the season, I wouldn't mind seeing him, start in the pen, and then next year we can talk about him as a starter again. And then that third guy is Hagen Smith. I want to see him on the left side, as a lefty coming out of the pen, get his taste in the big leagues. Both him and McDougal, those are guys that in spring training next year, I want to see building up the arms for that. But as far as the White Sox going down the stretch, those are 3 guys I want to see out of the bullpen.
I just want to say, remember how we was talking about the utilization of the opener? You get into a situation to where, let's say we do call up Hagen Smith to be, to join the team. Now, in your honest opinion, you're saying that is the organization right now bullish in making him a starting pitcher, right? But they don't want to exhaust his pitch count. So what I would do is I would make Hagen Smith an opener. Because what you're going to do is you're going to get him some at-bats. You're going to accumulate some data while keeping him in the routine as a starter. That routine is so vital for young pitchers, because now you get into a point to where you're not, every start is different. Sure, you've been going through meetings and prepping, but actually going through your work pre-game, walking out that bullpen feeling good about yourself, it's like a ritual that every starting pitcher needs a routine. I feel like if you want to keep them safe, use them as an opener. Give them 40, a pitch count of 40 pitches. Look at what the Brewers did with Shane Drohan, Rule 5 guy. Look at how his development. I know he got knocked around by the Rockies a little bit yesterday. It was the same start. He had the same start as Noah Schultz yesterday against the Rockies that Noah had against the Rangers. Same thing. But his development, he's turned into a fine starter. Kyle Harrison too for the Brewers. So maybe the White Sox just need to develop players like the Milwaukee Brewers. Maybe that'll help. Maybe follow in the footsteps of a perennial first place team. The Brewers are automatically in first place in the Central. We're coming up on that point. You remember when the Tigers was just automatically winning the Central a few years ago when they lost to the Cardinals and the the Giants.
It's about a decade ago, over a decade ago now.
Yeah, we're coming. Yeah, no, yeah, it's over a decade for sure.
Jay's feeling old now.
I
He
told you, I
he
had
remembers
the
those
before
days.
you left. Yeah,
He remembers those days of Miggy and Prince and Verlander and Scherzer and Victor Martinez and
Avisail Garcia. Hey, speaking of Avisail, can I give you a bat that I want the White Sox to try to go look for?
I want you to give me several bats before I flip the table on you.
Okay, cool. Do you want me to say that now?
When I say flip the table, I mean I'm like just switching course from your targets to mine. Not like I'm actually going to be upset about your targets, but
I'm trying to figure out, like, are you going to choke slam me through the table? I need details so I can prepare myself.
It depends on your targets, I guess.
So, okay.
Well,
right.
Joe was going to throw this comment at us before you get to your targets, Jay. Why does Braden look like he will struggle to hit 15 homers over 162? Again, I think there's more to that profile, Jay, that's being alluded here. I didn't think he was going to come out of the gates with a power surge, kind of like, what's his name, out there in Pittsburgh?
Esmerlin
Valdez. Yeah, the guy's going crazy right now. But anyways, Braden, I mean, I could see 2025 in him, but again, yeah, Joe, I mean, he's not shown that, in the get-go in his debut so far. I think it's there. Again, that progression is not linear. So fortunately, we're at the wait for it. But I can say that Braden's bat has looked good since it was like right before the All-Star break, Jay, when he started seeing a spark, and then coming out of the All-Star break, you see a little bit more of it. But Joe, I like the question because I mean that's a guy that there's some people on Twitter I saw that they were calling him the breakout player in the second half. So I'm kind of waiting to see it. I would love to see it though. But back to the construction, Jay. Go ahead and give me some targets.
So, like I said, I'm not adding any left-handed bats to this roster at all. All right-handed corner options. We could look at Baltimore. They got two guys that I would like, Tyler O'Neill and or Taylor Ward. I talked about Taylor Ward earlier. I love even though he's not slugging as much, Gonzo, Taylor Ward is not striking out as much, and that's the key. If you're gonna add a guy, a mature bat, make sure he doesn't K a lot. I said Tyler O'Neill because that's the same niche of player, and you don't really have to play him as much as Taylor Ward. You're not beholden. He could be in that specialty role, much like you doing with Grichuk. I just feel like we're going to move Grichuk because he has some value to be. There are people that are looking for a guy like Randall Grichuk, and the White Sox are going to capitalize on that value, I'm pretty sure. And this is the one that I was trying to allude to. Are you familiar with Heriberto Hernandez in Miami? I feel like this could be a situation to where when the White Sox went to go get Avisail Garcia those years ago, over a decade ago, I like that ad. I like that get because that's a guy that you can move Antonacci to second and you could have him in a corner outfield spot for the next couple of years, just depending on what Miami's going to command because obviously he's cheap as hell and productive.
I don't think Miami's going to be selling this year.
I wouldn't say trading Heriberto as a sell. I feel like he's having this success because of the explosion of at bats he's had.
Yeah. No, I mean I've seen someone out there put even Liam Hicks out there, but
hell no, it's gonna cost a fortune.
Yeah, and I mean I like the idea of it, right? Because who wouldn't want Hicks right now? However, that's going to cost you a pretty penny.
Why don't we just bargain shop and get fucking Avisail, Augustine Ramirez for damn near free and just have him DH the rest of his career with the White Sox?
That's a good point. And I think that's a fair one because I think Joe Mack has passed him on their catcher depth chart. So
You don't really need him to catch anymore.
mhm.
You can get fucking if you could put a first base mitt on Jacob Gonzalez's hand and be comfortable with it, put a first base mitt on our Augustine Ramirez, and that solves your right-handed corner. That solves your right-handed OPS. Even though he's not really a big OPS guy because he's a out machine, but he is athletic as hell. Obviously, the power speaks for itself, and he can steal you 20 bags, Gonzo. He'll probably be the only guy in the infield that could probably steal 20 bags.
Yeah. And I'm with you, Jay. We're gonna flip the table now.
Oh boy.
Before I flip the table, so this deadline is interesting because there's only probably going to be a limited amount of sellers, to be honest with you. And you know what that means for the market, right? It's going to be a buyer's market where it's really tight. And that means the trade value is that much more of an overpay
Mm-hmm.
than it normally is. And that's going to hurt. But also, I'm curious to see with the looming lockout how teams are going to play it, because this could be, even though there might be a few sellers, maybe teams are looking at their payroll going into the lockout and they're like, you know what, this could be a chance to clear the deck a little bit. So maybe even though there might be a few sellers on paper, it might be quite the trade, market because teams are looking to move pieces just because of contracts.
Yeah.
And this could be interesting, Jay, because I think there's a lot of teams that, could look to move some payroll. Like ordinarily, I'd feel this deadline might not be that interesting, but just because of I think it's pretty top heavy with the trade talk right now of your Scoobles of the world,
Your Mason Millers.
your Mason Millers. But if like with what I'm kind of hinting at, you got some teams that might be like, you know what? I'm going to move this contract. I'm going to move this contract. And it could be quite the deadline, I feel. So I say that to say this, though. As far as guts goes, are you going to nickel and dime this deadline? Or are you going to take a swing of the bat and get some needle threaders to go for it? Because I think in Jerry's shoes, right? Jerry's kind of all in right now. If you haven't noticed, Jay, I think he's kind of gearing it at let's take a swing here, go before the lockout, because it's kind of like at the moment with how well that they've done in that first half, I don't think anyone in that building expected how well things were going to go, and they might take a crack at this. And I'm going to throw some penny bargain deals at you, and then I'm going to throw a couple of cracks at you, Jay.
Okay. Crack is whack. Remember that.
That was my little. I mean, what do you think about? Do you agree with where my mind's at as far as like
the only thing I need to figure out is
how things are looking?
What area of the team will benefit from this big swing? Because the lineup is kind of bricked up for the next year, right? Next year or so. Whether we have a lockout or not, we already know what the future of the Chicago White Sox is generally going to look like post lockout, or even if we do have it. So what area are you talking about adding a blue label starter? Are you talking about giving me a blue chip reliever? Are you moving one of my young pieces out of the infield or out of the outfield? Because like let's just say we take a big crack at a star center fielder. That's it for Tristan, and Tristan Peters moves to the bench, or he moves to left field and Antonacci moves to second. There's going to have to be some cataclysmic waves moving if you decide to take a big swing at this pinata. What type of candy are you talking about here?
I'm taking a swing with a team that we should have took a swing with in the last era at this position, and it's Oakland. And the same position as last time, actually. I'll get to that soon. But if you remember what I wanted last time, it was a lefty behind the dish, and now we're just flipping the course. So here we go. I just want to highlight for our audio listeners. Last time, Jay, me and you talked about Angels and Giants. We talked about Detmers and Al Jahir. Is it Al Jahiri? Was it?
Yeah, for the Angels.
Yep. And I wouldn't want Detmers. So let's kind of catch up a little bit, right? I don't want Detmers. I didn't back then, and I don't now. Giants, Rope, Schmidt, we're talked about, right? So I'm going to start there with the Giants. I'm going to add a couple more to this. You want a lefty in the outfield? Or sorry, you want a left fielder or corner piece. How about Heliot Ramos? 3 years left on his contract, UVA and 30. It fits the time window. You think about that. And this is a guy, Ramos is going to be a control piece though, Jay, that's going to cost you a little bit. So, but my penny pincher, this is an arm that I think would be interesting. Because it would only be for a half season or 2 months of baseball. It's not going to cost you a lot. But with how he's been pitching, Robbie Ray, I think that'd be an awesome vet to make a deal with, to bring in and teach Logan a little bit. Or not Logan. Jesus. Noah, my bad. I'm thinking Logan Schmidt. I'm already thinking about the draft class.
That's crazy.
I'm already thinking about the draft class already that we'll talk to next show. But I
really like the Heliot Ramos, because that is exactly what I'm looking for in the Augustine Ramirez trade. Now, you're gonna, like you said, due to the club control, you're gonna have to give up a little bit, but he checks both my boxes. This is an active bat, has some thump, could run a little bit, and even though he's not Gold Glove, he's not Tristan Peters caliber, I can have him be the fourth outfielder, including center field. So he doesn't have to be strictly in a situation to where I want to overload the lineup with right-handed. And remember, I could pull Tristan Peters off the bench. What if I'm in a situation where it's the seventh inning and it comes time for Helio to bunt? Hell no. Nope. You're coming out the game, Tristan Peters into the game, and we fix that problem right there. And you don't lose any value on the defensive side. We're talking about a guy, Tristan Peters, that had less than 10 home runs, but an 800 OPS going into the All-Star break. This is a guy that gets a job done on base. I feel like Helio Ramos will be the perfect reverse platoon for him, for a guy like him, and Antonacci, because you're not getting the same guy. Helio Ramos is the only guy on the White Sox that does what he does. Miguel Vargas on the right-handed side, he walks a little bit more than Helio. So they're not really the same species. But that bat is active. And remember how we talked about earlier with Noah Schultz, to where he didn't generate enough swings and misses against the Rangers, right? Helio Ramos is one of the guys that could wear your ass out. Yeah, he strikes out a ton. I'm not even going to say a ton, a little bit more than some would like, right? But that bat is active to where there's a good pitch at the top of the zone that some guys will let just take it because it's higher than what they would like, receiving that ball. But he's a guy that'll put a swing on it and give us the opportunity to drive in a lot of extra runs that would probably have been taken for ball four. Like he's an initiator. You know what I'm saying? So I love that. I love that get. And then you were talking about you want somebody from the bullpen. Ryan Walker from the Giants probably would cost you nothing. High leverage, already tested. He's had a tough year this year, but his White Sox slate will be clean.
Just change the environment.
Yep.
I was taking a look at the Mets bullpen. I've seen Luke Weaver's name thrown out there. He's one I wouldn't mind if Getz truly believed that we needed a piece for the postseason, Jay. I wouldn't mind it. However, I would also include, as far as starters go, just because of the contract situation, You know how much I like Sean Manaea.
Mhm.
He's a guy I wouldn't mind. You know, if they're trying to take a flyer that's on the cheaper side of things, because they're probably going to ask the Mets to eat some of the contract, and you know it won't be a cost piece. Obviously, I would prefer Robbie Ray over Manaea, but I was curious about it.
Hey, before we leave off,
Yeah.
people were laughing at a Clay Holmes trade. You know that hypothetical Clay Holmes Luke Weaver
Mm.
acquisition. People were laughing at that, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, do you know what a healthy Clay Holmes would do? That's literally adding another Sean Burke. Except Burke has the big overhand curveball, a little bit more velocity. Clay Holmes controlled the strike zone just like Burke's been doing, and you're injecting that. This is not um James Shields acquisition that would need to take place either. And then Luke Weaver, he's one of the guys in the bullpen outside of Brazo Band that ain't been giving up. Yeah, he's given up a couple of earned runs this year, but you love the slate. Sub 3 ERA, whip slow as hell. You love his K per nine. We were talking about it earlier. Sometimes you got to miss a bat. Luke Weaver misses a bat. Clay Holmes can miss a bat.
Hmm. Don't mind it, right? I mean, as far as this rotation goes, Jay, I think anyone that we mentioned, I will take like right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not a bad package deal either, if we're being honest with you. All right, next team I'm looking at is Cincy. If Cincy does decide to open it up, there's one person I really like. This guy's got it might cost a little bit more, but he's got control as a lefty, and that's Andrew Abbott.
Abbott. Mm-hmm.
You like where I'm going there, Jay? What's your thoughts on Abbott?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, Andrew Abbott, he's so underrated, Gonzo, because people look at his whip's been a little bit high because he's been hemorrhaging a little bit more base runners. May was really tough for him, but
He's
he's an
settling.
all-star level pitcher. Literally, people don't know. Nicky Lodolo has been highly volatile as a starter, very inconsistent. Hunter Green has been hurt, right? Chase Burns just got there. Andrew Abbott has been a linchpin for that rotation, under the radar, overlooking. And you talk about his control. How many years of control he has?
He's a UFA in 30. So he's got 27, 28, and 29. 3 years.
Mm.
3.5 years with these 2 months.
Can I put a bow on this?
Yeah.
Is there some way we could add Nobi Marte to that trade? If we don't go the Helio Ramos way, Andrew Abbott, Nobi Marte, because Nobi, he doesn't have a position. He just has potential.
Because they put Arroyo ahead of him, right?
Arroyo's at second because Matt McClain's hurt. But I mean,
Right.
the outfield's been Lede. What's it? I think
Macklin.
Yeah. I think Friedel's been healthy too.
Spencer Steer.
Yeah. Steer has been he got second base eligibility in our league.
Yeah. All right. I like where we're headed.
Hold on, wait.
Right here.
Can we get Spencer Steer? Is there a way the White Sox can finesse Spencer Steer, Andrew Abbott, and fuck it, give me TJ Antone out the bullpen? He just came back from Tommy John. He could say that's one of my favorite bullpen arms, Gonzo. TJ Antone, because he could spin a baseball. Is there any way? What do we have to give up to get those three human beings?
You said Abbott, Marte, and
No. Scratch Marte. Spencer Steer. Because he can play first, outfield, second base, more OPS.
Abbott, Steer, and Antone, was it you said?
Yeah, TJ Antone.
Thing is Abbott, he's got that control of 3 years, so it's going to cost you a decent amount, which I'd be fine giving it up if you're getting that arm with that depth. I'd bite the bullet because like what I love about this front office last 3 drafts, man, like they've done a pretty solid job layering it. So
Yeah.
I don't really care about what it's going to take.
I would send Hagen Smith, Billy Carlson in a heartbeat for that.
Like, all right, is that for me? I would like. It depends on what other deals we got. I'm picking up multiple phones. Like I'm working multiple lines. Like
Let me find out you got a burner phone for the trade deadline.
How much have I given up at that point?
Yeah.
Or maybe I start off with that deal and then work around it. My next one here, Jay. All right.
Okay.
Before I get to the heavy hitter, if I'm looking for like a backup, not really a backup because he'd be a starter, but if Teal was back, he'd probably be backing up. But since Teal is gone, Jay, what about Salvi Perez as your catcher for
Come on, dog.
a couple months?
You've been DMing Ken Woe? You've been trying to get some Ken War?
I don't mind Salvi, especially with our young pitching staff, bro. The amount of value Salvi could bring to the table here, calling the game. I could give a fuck what he does with the bat at this point in time, because we can use a vet like him right now. 2 months of baseball. I think he's got 1 year left. So
why we can't get Gary Sanchez from Milwaukee?
How much was Gary? Was it 8 million? I think Salvi's only 12. So, but I didn't even think about the Yankees.
You think the Royals are gonna move Salvi? He's gonna retire there.
I mean, they can sign him for a 1 year deal later on.
No, that's not gonna happen.
Retire with the Royal. You can sign a 1-day contract.
Come on, bro. You petty.
All right. So let's just get to Oakland or Las Vegas, I should say. The Athletics. So Shea Langeliers has.
So you just giving up it because he's gonna be our catcher for like 5 years if we make that trade.
So Teal's involved in that deal.
Wow.
So I know, and that's a guy that he was the first one I went extended before Murakami bat lit up. Shane Langeliers. So normally I would laugh, right? Because I laughed when I first saw it. However, the plot twist to this, before the plot twist is here, Jay, he's got 2 years, 27, 28, free agent, and 29. The plot twist is he turned down a pre-arb extension. I think it was like 120, I think is what they offered Oakland, or 90 million, somewhere around there. So that tells me, right, they couldn't get him to their deal. So they're going to try to probably trade him for what they can. Because I just feel like they already know that he's going to test free agency when that contract comes. So I think if it wasn't for him turning that down, I don't think they would move him at all. But knowing Oakland and what the payroll they're working with their extensions that they've already made, I think he decided his fate there. So I think Oakland's probably going to sell him. And if that's the case, that's my needle threader, Jay. Right up the middle of the diamond, that catcher for this core going forward.
Yeah.
Granted, you're going to have to. I mean, I don't know where the conversation is in the front office right now with Ishbia and, paying Murakami, but you're probably going to have to throw another hefty contract to get this guy. Because if you're going to trade him, if you're going to make that deal, you need to extend him. Like, this isn't just a.
I think that's the nature of most of these trades too, because I mean, with the great cloud of the lockout coming, you kind of get these owners projecting what post lockout's going to look like. It's, am I trading for a guy that I'm going to be eligible to extend in the not too distant future? It's funny you said Langoliers, because I mean, I'm the same guy earlier in the show was like, I don't want to derail anybody's development. Kyle Teal, all the boys, but I want to, you talk about going to get Salvi. What about if we go get Jeffers from Minnesota? Now they're going to be hesitant. I think both of these teams, unless the players agree, will be hesitant to send these guys within the division. But I feel like the Twins are going to get beat to sleep enough to where they'll at least entertain the idea of moving him within the division. Because I'm not going to lie, bro. With Dylan Dingler being the only catcher of merit in the Central, outside obviously Salvi's Hall of Famer, but he's had a tough year. Jeffers been hurt. I mean, Dingler's been the one of the best catchers in American League, and I feel like this is a situation to where maybe that is an area of a place where you could make a splash trade, because I mean, look at the depth chart for us: Kyle Teal, Edgar Cuero, Corey Lee. Was that Boston Smith?
Mm.
Like,
Landon Hodges is like still an A-ball. So.
Right. He's 3.5 years away from having a meaningful conversation on his behalf. So maybe that is that the catcher position is a avenue of improvement where you can make a splash there and not have blowback about people's development. Because Jeffers, what if Salvi gets his shit together and he only has to catch 3 times a week? He could be that right-handed DH while you get Guerrero some reps or whoever's healthy.
My thing is like, I like Jeffers, but going back to the conversation of overpaying for Jeffers, I'm not going to overpay the Twins like for Jeffers. I like the target, but in division, when it's already going to be an overpay, I don't need to give the Twins that much more rope. So,
look, Keyshaw ain't good enough to make them a threat.
Yeah.
Buxton been healthy 80% of the season. He's had stints on the IL, but he's been there most of the time. Like,
you got Jenkins coming up.
Yeah.
And Lackey.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about those.
Well, that's why you're going to trade Jeffers, is because Von Lackey's
probably going to start sooner than later.
Yeah. It's a worthy conversation. I guess it just depends on where the value set it. But yeah, I mean, if you're saying Jeffers is like a 2B, I could do it. And then, all right. But you agree though, like you would, if Langoliers is on the table, that's a threadle, that's a needle threader you'd be making. Priority.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, as a catcher, what's his flaws?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a catcher, literally, Gonzo, like, don't get me wrong. Outside of being cynical and taking stolen bases out of his equation, what does he do poorly as a catcher?
Imagine Antonacci, Murakami, and Langoliers. 1, 2, 3 in the lineup. Probably goes to 4 when Chalowski gets here.
I'll probably have Langoliers batting second, and Vargas cleanup behind Murakami, because it's going to be Antonacci, Langoliers, Murakami every day. And then depending on what type of matchup and how guys feeling, I could even go back-to-back lefties at 3 and 4 with Colson, or I could just be a grown man and be honest with myself and just have Miguel Vargas hit that cleanup spot, that Maglio spot. Colson 5.
Now, I'm also going to put Jonah Heim. So let's just say Langoliers doesn't get
Heim. It's Heim
time. Heim time. What do you think about Heim time? What are you thinking? Heim time.
I mean, that's cool. We wouldn't have to pay as much, and we don't have to be beholden to him. The only thing is, like, you're not raising the floor. You're not raising the ceiling of your position.
Yep.
You're just. Can you say Jonah Heim raises the floor? But no, it's just acquisition at a position of need.
He's going to cost you a nickel because he's a UFA in the offseason.
What about Nick? What's Nick Fortes in Tampa?
I like where your head's at.
Because that's a guy. He reminds me a little bit of Paulo Duca.
So what you're saying is you liked my fantasy pickup today, then?
No, I'm not. I haven't been on the app. I didn't even start Griffin today against the D-backs.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Last team that I picked out, which it can go either way. Toronto Blue Jays. They're 6.5 ish. They've got a lot that they can. This is either they're gonna go all in or they're gonna reset. After their World Series appearance. Because they got two arms that I really like as vets, and that's Gausman and Bieber. If you strike out on my boy Abbott, you got two vets here that you could join Robbie Ray acquisitions. You can get two vets in this rotation. Just pick one of them, Bieber, Gausman, bring in Robbie Ray as, that second arm to go with either or. I'm taking the catcher. Think about this one. Alejandro Kirk, 4 years, $11.5 million.
No. No.
Yeah, I don't blame you. All right, but my last bet I want you to really ponder is this man right here, a right-handed bat playing center field, George Springer.
I was just about to say, what's his contract looking like?
He's UFA this offseason.
So he'll be what, 37?
I believe so, yeah. But you're only making that deal for him for 2 months of baseball, or 2.5 months, whatever.
Yeah. 696 OPS. Yikes. I don't know. Let me ask you. Do you honestly believe that the Blue Jays would move a bullpen arm?
You're looking at what?
You said you wouldn't overpay Minnesota for Jeffers. Would you overpay for Varland?
Yeah.
Because overpaying for Varland, you give away less resources than overpaying for Jeffers. So, Billy Carlson, what's the guy named Sammy Zavala? Like all of the diaper dandies, they could go. Just give me Louis Varland and Davis Schneider, and I'm gone. Because Davis Schneider is one of the ways to fill that Luisangel Acuna niche. We don't need Davis Schneider to play shortstop, Gonzo. We need him to be the left side of platoon all over the diamond.
If there's any big contracts they want us to pay, they can throw in Johnny King and I'll pay the whole thing.
Yeah. But you're not. See, you're in La La Land. There's no way how did we leave a deal with Louis Varland and Johnny King? How?
Hey, I don't give a fuck what it costs. Let me just walk out of it.
Johnny King's your boy. You've been on this Johnny King train for it's going on a full calendar now.
It's got to be close to it, dude.
Yeah.
I forgot when I picked Johnny King up in fantasy, but it's probably close to a year now. Yeah, Jay, no, I like where your head's at. Jeffers.
I think Gausman said he's not coming to the Sox anyway. He's not waiving the no trade clause for us. He had a list of like 7 teams.
I think Springer's got 8-team list for his no trade clause.
Can you imagine George Springer? I mean, now here's the question: do you get George Springer to hit leadoff for this team?
No, I really love Antonacci.
See, that's my thing. If I acquire George Springer, that's my leadoff spot. That's my leadoff hitter, and it goes George Springer, Antonacci, Miguel Vargas, Mooney, or
mean,
no.
For a lefty, if you have a lefty on the mound, yeah, but righty, I think I'm gonna go Antonacci.
I think I do it for both because George Springer can start the game off 1-0 more times than not than Antonacci. Now the thing is, Antonacci gets on base with a higher percentage, steals more bags.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask George Springer to lay down a bunt. There will be a situation to where Antonacci has to sacrifice himself with guys like Mooney and Vargas hitting behind him.
I just think Springer on the lower half of the order, just better lineup construction.
Okay, I mean, thank God that he's a versatile enough hitter to where you don't lose any value there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at Bo Bichette right now, he's used to hitting at the 1-2 spots in the lineup, and now he's been moved down to third, and you've seen it's 676 OPS. Like the acquisition of Francisco Lindor pushed him lower in the order. So I just don't like a roster or lineup without George Springer leading off, no matter how bad he's going, because that's where I would probably get the most value out of him. Now, thank God that we could move a guy like Antonacci around and don't lose any value there, because the same thing he could do at the leadoff spot, he could do hitting out of that 6 hole.
Yeah. So out of all those guys I threw at you, what would you love to see out of this list? Any of them?
Well, I did, like I said before, I didn't really look at a big splash, but the Langoliers is the best because you automatically inject this team with OPS and an upgrade defensively. Like, I believe in Shea Langoliers. He's a complete catcher, and we've seen him to provide an offensive year a few times now. This isn't just a Cal Raleigh, offensive explosion, and now it's like deeper than doom. Shea Langoliers is consistent, accountable, very good leader, vocal guy. I feel like you need all of that at the catcher position, and this is a situation to where you can go for the gusto, and this could, and more importantly, hopefully we can get him to put pen and paper in an extension. I like the Andrew Abbott acquisition too. I feel like that's a guy that, due to the control, you're going to have to pay a little bit more, but just like Shea Langoliers, he's got a little bit of a track record. You know what to expect out of him. I feel like a change of scenery and putting them in a better position with a more accountable organization. Imagine me saying that the White Sox now are a more accountable organization than a historic team like the Reds. We're in uncharted waters, Gonzo. This is a more responsible and more concrete with their direction, especially with the pitching, because now you insert him into the rotation where he's going to be a stalwart. He's going to be looked at as not just a trade chip. Somebody went out and wanted to acquire me due to the body work that I put together. He's gonna yield positive results, because that'll be the first time that somebody actually believed in him to win baseball games. Like, I want you to be one of the pitchers going into what we're building here. Like, don't get me wrong, the Cincinnati Reds have had flashes and stretches where they were a brilliant baseball team, but at the end of the day, they're the same old Reds. They fizzle out. Like, they lose that competitive foundation. Now, remember, Gonzo, when the year started, that National League Central was kind of, jumbled up, crumbled up a little bit. And we've seen the Reds, and even though the Pirates are still the diaper dandy, they're one of everybody's favorite team in the National League. I got a lot of Pirates in fantasy. They've tapered off a little bit. It's now between how many games above 500 the Cardinals going to finish, and how many games the Brewers are going to win the division by, with the Cubs unfortunately having a good second half too. So they're going to finish well above 500, of course. So I don't know, like Andrew Abbott being removed from a team that's doom and gloom and added to a division leader, that can probably light that fire in that belly. And this is a lefty, Gonzo. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but he keeps the game on the diamond. He has pretty much control of every start he's made.
I love all of that, Jay. I think, again, if I can't pull a deal for Langeliers, I would attack it like this. I would focus heavily on the Giants and try to get both Ramos and Ray in that package. Fill that catcher spot with Heem, and potentially, because again, you're gonna have to make room in that rotation. So I would probably capitalize on moving Davis Martin, and if I have to make room for that vet, I will. And again, if I need to, because I don't think if you move Davis Martin and bring in Robbie Ray, I think you could make it, pretty well in the offseason with Burke, Ray, and Schultz as a 3. If you don't feel too confident, if you want to go out there and get a Bieber, go for it.
I just don't like Bieber's injury history.
But that's the thing, is like he is one of the most like craziest outliers. Like when he's healthy,
yeah,
he's lights out. You just don't know which side of you're going to get. Is he going to be one of these, stay injured and out of the pitching staff? He just came back, so I think he's working through his, is making his adjustments. But if he stays healthy, he's just one of those outliers.
Right.
And that's what you're going to deal. You're dealing for a guy that you're banking that he's going to fall in line with his norm, which is an outlier.
Well,
So,
I mean, he's a mature pitcher too. Somebody that you're comfortable making a start in September, where you got to have a game. Like, people don't know, we're watching Sean Burke turn into an ace every start, because every start with him taking the mound feels like a playoff start. I feel like if the way it's going right now, Sean Burke is the game 1 starter for your postseason Chicago White Sox, no matter what happens, because he's shown you New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Like that's all I needed to see. We needed a win, Gonzo. We were desperate for a win.
Yep.
Didn't somebody open for him?
I'd have to go back. I forgot. I think so. I think he did.
I think somebody opened for him at Yankee Stadium, and he came in as the bulk man and shut it down.
But you're alluding to where we're at, Jay. It's that time for the upcoming schedule, Jay.
Oh, boy.
So we wrap up the series versus Houston tomorrow with the pitching matchup of Ranil Blanco, who's been rough as his first start back this past week.
He's kind of trash.
Eric Fetty. I got a feeling the Sox are going to take one tomorrow.
Hopefully.
And
Fetty's going over 4 innings tomorrow.
You know what? Yeah, probably so. It's probably going to be one of those games. Might come down to the bullpen, but I think the Sox grab one. And then the Sox. So I say I forgot to say for this part, Jay. This is the season for the White Sox right now. The next 2 weeks. This is going to dictate where this team's going to be at come the end of the season. The next 2 weeks. It's not going to be September. I don't think so. I think it's going to be the next 2 weeks. You're going to see exactly, are these guys pretenders or contenders? We might repeat history. This might be that team that no one thought, could make noise, and then they make the postseason. They make the postseason, and they make a lot of noise.
Season.
I'm thinking about the preseason for the Bears already. All right. So, why do I say that? Because the next 2 weeks, you got Yankees, the Rays, and then you got Boston, and then you have the Guardians at home, and that is from tomorrow till August 9th. So about 10 days or so. But I think, how many games is that? We got 1, 2, 3, 6, 9. That's 13 games in the next
15 days.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was right on. 2 weeks. Jay, you can look at the rest of September, rest of August, but I think these next 2 weeks dictates expectations for the rest of the second half. In saying so, actually, before we get to New York's series, do you have anything to say about that statement?
This is probably the most competitive. This is the gauntlet, is what they call it, because you don't have any rest days in between series outside of Monday the 3rd. That's when we leave the Trop and go to Fenway. It's going to be tough, Gonzo, and the organization has to make a tough choice, because you don't want to go into that that stretch of games with a less than roster, because you're gonna get your teeth kicked in, and it's gonna be terrible for morale. And then once the White Sox understand that the competitive balance is lost, we could very well find that out before we even get to Boston or Cleveland. That could be found out in the Rays series right around the deadline, right when we get done with Houston. So I feel like at a certain point, no, I agree, because that's the most competitive the White Sox will have to be from a roster standpoint, because you are facing teams that you're gonna have to go up against in the postseason anyway. This is like 4 different postseason series that the White Sox can measure themselves in. This is what winning a World Series would have to look like. These series against these teams. That's what it's going to come down to. That's why I agree, because these are 3-4 playoff series in a row.
Yep. You're going to see if these boys, are they as good as they are, Is this
you
young
just want to see
roster
them rise to the level of competition?
Exactly. I don't think we've seen this true litmus test to this point of the year until now. But now it's here. Like this is the tell. Are they truly, ready in a full 162 game season, not only to compete against this talent, but to beat this talent when it matters? It's a good test. And let's just go up until Friday. We've got New York Yankees at home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday's matchup is looking like Garrett Cole versus Noah Schultz. Game 2 is looking like Max Fried versus K.
Mm-hmm. That's gonna be my favorite. That's gonna be the game I got my eye on.
And then game 3 is Schittler versus Davis Martin.
That's another good pitching matchup.
That's a good pitching matchup. And then you're gonna like this one. Thursday, Weathers versus Burke.
Mm-hmm. Just like when we needed a win that last game against New York, that was the pitching matchup. It's literally like Star Wars. It's like the movies are in reverse.
Yeah. I have the White Sox winning tomorrow and then splitting the series at home versus the Yankees.
Which two games are they getting?
Game 4, and I'm gonna go with, let's see.
Because I think the Max Fried one, that's gonna be a tell on how well the offense is playing, because you're not gonna expect to bat flip Max Fried shit. You're gonna have to execute. I mean, Garrett Cole has been sharp since coming back, but there's been hitters that's been knocking his shit over the fence, like accidentally. So I feel like the White Sox can run into a couple with Garrett Cole and Schlittler lately. I know he twirled a gem yesterday against the Phillies, but he's been kind of sketchy the last few starts.
I'm going game 1 and game 4.
Weathers and Garrett Cole giving it up.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that means my boy in fantasy Bednar's not getting any saves.
It's gonna be a competitive series at home. I think if you're real, you need to win the series. But splitting, I'll take it, but I don't love it.
It depends on how we split. If we get our teeth kicked in 2 out of the 4 games, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah. What's your call on this?
We win Garrett Cole, question mark against Max Fried. We're gonna beat Schlittler, and question mark against. I think we could win this series. The only thing is, what are you gonna do against Max Fried? Because that's game 2. That's a tone setting game in a 4-game set. Game 2 is so vital because you could either snatch momentum, maintain momentum going into that 3rd game. So win, lose, or draw against Garrett Cole, Max Fried, that's the key. Because if you beat Max Fried, you go into Wednesday's matchup with Schlittler with a head full of steam. You do not want to be down 2 games going into Schlittler and Weathers, because that's a lot of swing and miss, and you'll be lethargic at the plate.
Looks like we can actually do the weekend series too. So Friday through Sunday is on the road in Tampa. Friday's matchup is Fetty versus Martinez. I think Tampa takes that one. Saturday.
Nick Martinez was awesome this afternoon too.
Yep. Saturday, Schultz versus Rasmussen. Schultz and pitching in Tropica. I don't love that at all. So
it
Tampa.
Could be a repeat of the Texas start. It could even if he executes. So I'm not liking it.
Sunday's K versus Jacks. I think the Sox get beat on the road, and we only win game 3
against Griffin Jackson. That's because he's still learning how to start games. I feel like I'm with you 1 out of 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get swept. Now, the good thing is all 3 of these starters are right-handed, so Will can have an aggressive lineup for all 3 games. So hopefully we come up on a situation to where Colson can stop hitting the ball off of himself and hurting himself to where he's healthy enough to take some aggressive hacks. Antonacci could be a problem on this base paths if he gets on base. And then look, we still have Tristan Peters, Gonzo. So I mean, playing small ball against Tampa, you're gonna have to do that. So there will be avenues of success. It's just the fact of the matter is Nick Martinez is really good. Drew Rasmussen is very good. Like very good starting pitching. And against a younger lineup, they can force the Sox to get themselves out. that's why they're losing 2 out of 3 against Tampa. Hopefully they can surprise us and make us look like fools.
And folks, so I think we're matching each other on the record this week, right? You got a win tomorrow, split, and then they get beat, right?
You talking about Cleveland?
No, so I said they're going to win tomorrow. They're going to split versus New York, and then they're going to get beat in Tampa, 2 out of 3.
Yeah, that's it. That sounds like even.
But you matched that record, you said, or did you have them any differently?
No, yeah. I got the White Sox losing tomorrow. They're gonna get swept against Houston. I feel like the bats just aren't there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying a split with New York, but I do see a world where they could win 3 out of 4. Tampa Bay, we lose 2 out of 3. So,
all right. Jay, it's that time of the show, man. It's Picks to Click.
Oh.
Is here. I won.
I've been dreading this. I've been trying to have you change the subject.
Joe in the chat, man. I won my Pick to Click with Braden Montgomery, so you can go enjoy that platter of B Monty. So I now Slavko still has the lead with 4. I got 3. 1 behind him, and then Jay, you got 2, and OJ's got 1. With Montgomery off the board, I'm gonna go with the only possible option to get me to tie Slavko, and that's because I need to change the tide on Mooney Murakami. So
you're a good luck charm.
I'm gonna have to, bro. I'm gonna have to for a consecutive week here. So Braden Montgomery and Murakami is off the board. Jay, I'm gonna give the ball to you. Who do you got?
You know what? I'm a good luck charm too. This is one of the princes of my fantasy, my dynasty leagues. I'm going with Colson because at a certain point he needs to feed again, and he hits his home runs and bunches. I think I'm gonna piggyback on a good line of success, and that's probably why all these right-handed pitchers are going to get whooped these upcoming series. Pray for Schlittler, or as Gonzo called him, Shitler. Pray for him. You're gonna have to pray for Garrett Cole. You're gonna have to pray for Griffin Jacks. You're gonna have to pray for a lot of people because Colson Montgomery swinging was square for the Targaryens. Yeah, you're gonna have to give me Colson as my pick to quick.
I'm so glad that you caught that. You didn't let me slide, bro. Shitler. So, and to match your note there, Jay, everyone gets who they wanted because everyone in the chat got their first priority pick, and the rest of their picks are as follows. I'm going Mooney. Jay's going Colson. Slavko is picking Vargas. That was his first option, who was still on the board. And OJ's first option was also on the board with Acuna Matata. Listen, all OJ put was Acuna, you for Junior Perez, and Drew Romo. So with the most at-bats, I'm surprised OJ didn't go with Drew Romo as his catching option.
Wow, OJ went Acuna. This is probably motivating. I need to know the agenda.
I need to know the OJ's agenda. Oh man, can you imagine if OJ wins with Acuna? His pick to click next Monday night is going to be the week of the legacy game with Ozzy's retirement number that week. So, woo, that could be an interesting.
That's a barn burner right there.
Could that be a tease of a foreseeable future victory potentially? We will see. But Jay, it's that time of the show. We like to wrap it up. You know how we do it. Shout out time, Jay. Let's hear it.
I know we took an L today, but I got to shout out the White Sox. Outstanding performance up until this point, first half. I know the offense been a little bit turbulent, but I can't express to you guys how much I've enjoyed this season and the discourse about the White Sox. And at the end of the day, Gonzo, we're blue collar people. We go to work every day, and having the White Sox to talk about at the office microwave, or the water cooler, as the cool kids call it. Talking about the White Sox, that makes the world a better place, at least in my life. So shout out to you guys, because the White Sox have been the best conversation starter of the summer, and it's only going to be up from here. Uh, I just want to see what the front office does next week to hopefully upgrade this roster and supplement an already deep uh, minor league system. So I mean, shout out to the White Sox, shout out to White Sox fans. You guys been awesome this year. Let's keep it going. A job not finished, as Kobe said.
I love it, Jay. This is kind of a bittersweet part of the segment, because this is not me shouting out for a positive reason, but this past week we lost someone at work to a motorcycle accident. So I'm just hoping, for at least from our viewers and audio listeners, if you're religious or not, please have a prayer, or at least send positive thoughts to the Brent family. I know the wife's probably still going through it. He leaves behind not only the wife with two daughters, 10 and 11-year-old daughters. So the Brent family needs all the positivity at this time. I really hope we can help them out and set some stuff up. I know the church service has been putting together a meal, service for them at the current moment. There's a lot of financial things going on right now for flexibility for the family. So sending all of our prayers and positivity to them. It's never easy time. Besides that, I'm going to shout out Joe in the chat. Thank you, boss, for giving us your question earlier with Braden. Again, such a corner piece to right field that we have. Hopefully, the second half is a whole lot better than what we've seen in the month prior. Also, I'm going to give a shout out to my fiance, Soraya. She's right now, bro, when it comes to her mother-in-law and her trying to plan a couple of shower, a lot of stress goes into that. So our couple of shower is going to be next Saturday on the 1st. Jay, I might see you, I might not. I haven't looked yet at the list.
I usually shower by myself, so a couple shower might be too much attendance for me.
That's too much. Okay. Can I get you there to shower with a cigar and some drinks?
You've piqued my interest.
Yeah, that will do it, folks. That might do it for Jay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that next week. It'll be nice to get the families together and enjoy some family time together. Haven't had it in a while and definitely need it. I'm trying to think what else this week. Oh, shout out to Chris Getz. Had one marvelous 2026 draft class for the White Sox. I know we peeked on it earlier to start the show, but I'm going to end the show with just giving him a good golf clap, Jay, because it's one thing to get the money for that class, but it's another to execute the plan that they had going into the draft. And I know I talked in favor of Roch for the longest time, and I tried a lot to not only give some thought on the profile of the baseball player, but also the character of the man that he is. And I think Chicago, our fan base, got to see that character really show, and at least all of the media, viewings that we've seen of Roch so far. I'm not sure, Jay, what, if you've caught, if your eyes caught any of it over the past week or so, but I just feel at the end of the day, like, Sox made the right pick. and they did their due diligence. And I've read every article I could, especially the one with Jesse Rogers, I think it was, when he had the behind the scenes with in the draft room, and he put a lot of details out there what went on behind the scenes. And just the fact that when they brought Roch in for that walk-off, the weekend of that walk-off homer with Braden, talking about Braden again, Joe, but Braden hit that walk-off in his debut. Roch was there, and he wants to be here, and that's huge. It really excited to see what this class becomes of itself, and that'll be a tease for when we wrap the show up here shortly. But we're going to talk more about the draft class to come tonight. We wanted to catch up at the MLB level from the last 2 weeks. So again, we will get to the draft class. There's a lot coming your way between going over the draft class, going over our farm system. Who is that? What we got here? Red Sox have traded Connor Early to Nationals for Curtis Mead. I'm going to be honest, Jay. I don't like that for your Boston. I get the flavor for Curtis Mead and his progression this year, but that's a hell of an arm to give up for the long term. I'm not sure if Mead keeps that pace that he's on, but to give up an arm like that, I don't know, Jay. I don't like that one.
I have no problem with that.
We're going to get to that. Actually, Jay, can you bookmark that? Because we're going to get to that for
it's in the microwave for sure.
Yes. Because, all right, that's just one move for Boston, but I'm sure they're going to make more than that. But yeah, I'm in because, that's a good one. We're going to get into that one. That's going to open up the rotation a little bit. So that's an interesting move. For Early though, Jay, come on, man. We'll get to it. I think there's better value there for Early. Last thing I want to talk about, golf clap. Kyle Davidson, Connor Bedard was extended. He got his extension locked in, and they signed Patrick Kane back to be put on the nice, beautiful Blackhawks sweater. Jay, I grew up, just in that dynasty run the Blackhawks have 3 Stanley Cups. I was definitely more so a Taves guy, not a Kaner fan, but I really do like Kane. It's just I just like the captain more. However, I felt like they never should have left. A lot was going on at that time when they did let him go, but at least we get to see Kaner hopefully retire a Blackhawk. I mean, he was signed to a 2-year deal, so I'm assuming he's going to retire in those 2 years. So he's in the right place, and this is a different time now with the Blackhawks on the way up. So, Jay, do you have any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
Can you imagine the United Center every time Kane is on a breakaway with Bedard at his side?
I'm definitely going to have to catch a Blackhawks and Red Wings game here in Detroit relatively soon.
They think I'll tell my family I'm going to the rink. They think I'm going roller skate. No.
Oh, man. All right, folks. On that note, next Monday night, we are going to have Nate Rasmussen of Over Slot Baseball and Just Baseball Media. Nate will be coming back for round 2 in this season alone. And I don't know, I think he's on. This might be his 4th or 5th time coming back on with us.
Oh, yeah.
We love Nate. Should be a good show. We're definitely going to hit a lot of more so of that draft class conversation. He's the right guy to have on the show. He covered the whole draft, Jay. So we're going to talk to him not only about the White Sox, but MLB.
But his Mariners. Yeah, and we gotta get him to open up about his Mariners too.
Oh yeah, because we know that Ace Reese pick was probably
Yeah.
Probably not the one that he was wishing for, but
Was it on the bingo card? We don't know.
I do have to say there was one pick in that draft class that the Sox made that I think it would have changed the whole strategy of that draft, Jay, but I think they should have paid the money for an arm at was that 70, shoot, what was that, 77th pick or 75th pick?
This
I
is
go
75.
yeah, I was gonna say I gotta remember that Volchko pick. Not that I didn't like the
He's a
Georgia arm.
bruiser.
He's a dog in the pen, but I think there was a guy. There was two high school prep arms, and the Braves picked the one I wanted, like 2 picks after Jensen Hirschkorn. They paid him over slot at $3 million. So that you would have, if you were the White Sox, you would have had to make up $2 million. So in other words, you would have had to have gone at under slot on some of those high school picks that came later in the 4th, 5th round to get that money back. But I think that's, if you remember, Jay, I asked Nate, what would, like, if we came away from this draft and you were disappointed in Getz, why would it be? And one of the things he mentioned was not taking a shot at a high school prep arm early on. And that, that 3rd round pick, I think that's where in our conversation with him, that's where we were saying, like, second to 3rd round, that would be the opportunity to take a shot.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it. So I want to get back to that because I think that will be a great conversation with Nate. That's how we're gonna talk about with Nate not only the draft class but the MLB trade deadline, because that is also next Monday night. So Thank you for tuning in to the show. Hope you enjoy following us on our 4th season of the Blackout Show. We have a lot coming at you as we get through the second half of the 2026 Chicago White Sox. Thank you for tuning in and watching the Blackout.